23 leaders from around the world met with Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes to find out how to fight human trafficking in their own countries, what they learned coming up.
Welcome back. A group of 23 delegates from around the world meeting with Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes to discuss ways to fight human trafficking. And Koyo Yamba talked to them at the Capitol to find out what they learned.
This is one of the largest and diverse groups to meet with Utah law enforcement to find out what they can be doing differently in their own countries to not only prosecute the perpetrators, but to rescue victims.
The greatest challenge is that our government doesn't have sufficient resources.
Once police rescue human trafficking victims, Chinyata Chikula says Zambia does not have enough recovery homes to help victims return to normal life.
Therefore, it means that we need to collaborate with the private sector and the NGOs to try and provide some of these services.
This meeting is part of the State Department's Professional Exchange Program. Through the Utah Council for Citizen Diplomacy, international leaders like these collaborate on ways to improve conditions in their countries. Coming up on KSL 5 News at 6, learn about the unique needs each country has in fighting human trafficking and how they plan to implement exactly what they learned right here in Utah. Koyo Yamba, live at 5.
And as news specialist Koyo Yamba reports, Utah is helping in the fight against trafficking around the world.
Human trafficking is usually associated with poor developing countries, but leaders from Europe say they're fighting the crime too, and they're learning crucial ways from Utah law enforcement on how to help the victims in their countries.
The best thing is always the prevention side of things.
When it comes to human trafficking, we can try this approach, says Annette Berger.
How to care about them enough in the first place so they will not end up as victims of trafficking.
Berger says police rescued 25 forced labor victims from India on one farm in Norway last year.
It's in car washing industries, it's in building industries, it's really much in the hotels and restaurants, businesses.
Growing tourism in Iceland has police there working to rescue sex trafficking victims.
It is children, it is a woman, for example, for Eastern Europe.
We had a victim, she was 83 years old, and she was trafficked for the purposes of forced begging into Germany.
One concept these 23 delegates hope to take home with them is protecting victims rather than prosecuting them.
To ensure that people learn how to deal with people as victims and provide as many services as possible.
Koyo Yamba, KSL News.
And on top of that, we've all got to make sure that somebody does not snatch our packages off of the front porch. But one Utah neighborhood has a plan to trick the thieves. And Koyo Yamba, live in Daybreak, to explain how this is all playing out. And Koyo?
Mike, I talked to one Daybreak neighbor here, resident here, and he told me that he and his neighbors are sick and tired of thieves stealing their packages, so they're going to decide to beat them at their own game by using decoy packages just like this one. That one. There's a continuing pattern in holiday frustration, disappearing boxes.
You'll see a camera outside of our home.
It's not the camera that Kroger Menzer hopes will deter thieves.
Some old TVs are going to end up in the boxes, some rocks.
It's these fake packages.
Some of them will be tracked.
The brainchild of his neighbor.
So when Jeff came up with the idea, it spread like wildfire.
After posting the idea on this Facebook page,
the post has spread to Riverton, and Harriman have copied the post. So that's why this is going to work, because it's not just a half dozen homes doing it. It's a whole community.
But police say they prefer residents leave the crime fighting to the professionals.
It's a crime that only takes probably about 15 or 20 seconds to jump out of a car in front of a residence and run up, grab the package off the porch, and they're gone.
And Lieutenant John Barker warns anything can happen.
If you by yourself, you're probably not going to win that battle.
Police prefer families use surveillance videos to catch thieves.
If you can get the car, and especially the license plate, that's be very helpful in tracking these individuals down.
The goal isn't to catch them in the act, if you will. That's for the police department to do. The goal is to make it confusing and frustrating. So they come in and they steal a box and they get home and it's a bunch of rocks. Well, there's a good chance they're probably not going to come back to steal another box.
Well, you know, there is one surefire way to make sure that you do get your packages, and that's Unified Police are telling us that you make sure to pick them up at the package delivery centers. Now, of course, Mike, that's more work for you, but at least you'll know where your packages are.
We have team coverage of today's storm.
Yeah, that's true. You know, when that snow hits, I think we just get so wrapped up in what's going on out there, like how much snow is falling and the cars that are driving and how we're driving. But that's when we make 3 common mistakes. In fact, I talked to UDOT's John Gleason, who told me that one of those common mistakes involves slide-offs and crashes. Here's what he had to say about it.
Get into a crash and you want to survey the damage to see how severe it is, but that's the last thing you should do. Always stay in your vehicle. If you can get the vehicle off the freeway, do that. If not, stay in the vehicle with your seatbelt fastened and call for help. Check your tires, check your fluids, make sure that you come with an extra pair of clothing, coat, just in case you do get stuck and you're going to be out there. A lot of people experienced that this morning. They were out there much longer than they thought.
Did you find yourself in a roadside emergency? Nkoyo Iyamba continues our team coverage live from Salt Lake City.
Well, you know, I'm a Minnesota girl, and being a Minnesota girl, there are just certain things that we know to pack in the trunk of our car, like jumper cables and cat litter. Yes, a bag of cat litter, you know, for traction on the road so your car can drive, and then also a shovel to shovel yourself out of the snow. Well, I also talked to UDOT's John Gleason, who told me that there are some things that we here in Utah should pack in our trunks as well, and here's what he had to say.
Bring some extra food, bring some water if you do get stuck.
Also, he reminded us that we should slow down as we're driving out here because things are going to get rough as they have been the rest of this week. Back to you two.
Nkoyo Iyamba shows us from Millard County how vandalism went to a whole different level.
Police are saying that what happened here at Grand Central Station Pizzeria and Grill is a very serious crime. There are several detectives working on it, according to police, and there's even reward money being offered for information that leads to the capture and arrest of those responsible.
Yes, I would classify it as a hate crime.
Millard County Sheriff Robert Decker says thieves burglarized Grand Central Pizzeria and Grill in late April and attacked owner Rick Jones. In May, someone vandalized Jones' parents' house, and Wednesday, someone burglarized the restaurant and vandalized the home again.
Graffiti on both their business and their home, and the graffiti is all referring to gay activity or a gay person. There's the things that were carved on him have reference to that. The Molotov cocktail and the rock thrown inside of his home, that had reference to that.
Coming up on KSL 5 News at 6, hear why the Jones family believes they were targeted. Nkoyo Iyamba, live at 5. Grand Central Pizzeria and Grill has only been open for a little more than 6 months, and despite what's happened here, perhaps this sign is an indication of the positive outlook the Jones family has when they show up for work every day. Rick Jones would rather be known for his steaks.
I like the challenge of cooking each steak to order.
Instead, the arms on this 22-year-old small-town entrepreneur bears the scars of anti-gay graffiti carved into his skin in late April.
I was taking out the trash that night, and I remember coming back in and thinking, it's kind of weird I didn't hear the door close.
Millard County Sheriff's investigators say thieves burglarized the restaurant.
And then I felt someone grab the back of my head and slam it into the wall. Waking up and having someone pinning my chest down, pinning my legs down, and trying to force a bottle of bleach down my throat.
In May, investigators say someone vandalized his parents' house, and on Wednesday, burglarized the restaurant and vandalized the home again, all using anti-gay slurs. Police call it a hate crime, but the Jones say it's their success.
For a brand new business, we actually are doing very well.
We're Baptists living in a very strong LDS community. We've never had any problems.
Police have some leads, but are still offering up a reward for information to catch those responsible. For now, support from the community.
Show them how much we love them and support them. Come eat here. They have the best food anyways.
Only fuels the Jones family passion to cook up meals that invite their small town inside to feast.
We're not going to back down. We're not going to quit. We're not going to be afraid. And we're not going to start whimpering like little whipped puppies.
Nkoyo Iyamba, KSL News.
Yeah, new specialist Nkoyo Iyamba says health workers are trying to keep the disease from spreading, but that means some kids simply cannot go to school.
That one confirmed case is at Salem Hills High School, and officials here at Nebo School District are not sounding the alarm on that one confirmed case, but they do have a letter like this ready to go just in case. They're saying that if your child has a vaccine exemption, basically he or she will be asked to be out of school for a period of time. The Salem Hills High School student had close contact with students at Foothills Elementary and Salem Junior High.
When we started, we knew of one confirmed case and 2 that had direct contact. They came back negative.
Utah County Health Department says students who take antibiotics to treat pertussis can return to school after at least 5 days. Others will have to miss school for at least 2 weeks.
So we're asking parents to please watch their own children, look for any kind of signs. It looks like a cold.
Hiskey also says the majority of the students in the district are immunized, but still asking parents to watch their children for symptoms. Nkoyo Iyamba, live at 5.
Nkoyo Iyamba talked to a woman who lives right next door to the family involved in that SWAT situation.
Police evacuated 8 homes on this block, and I talked to one woman, and she told me what it was like to be kept out of her house for 5 hours during this SWAT situation.
It's hard to see the SWAT truck pull down and pull in your driveway, let 6 or 7 men out with guns and their shields, and you don't think it's real till you actually see that.
This neighbor did not want us to use her name. During the SWAT situation, she says she could not get to her medication.
Rather frightening, and it still is.
She lives right next door to 34-year-old Scott Gray's parents.
This is a quiet neighborhood, always has been.
Centerville police say Gray walked away from the Davis County Jail Work Center and held police at bay in his parents' house.
We were able to finally make contact with him after making hundreds of attempts using a throw phone into the residence. We were very concerned because there was information that there was a weapon inside the home. We did hear a loud, officers on scene did hear a loud bang inside, and there was what appeared to be a bullet hole in the side of the home.
Police have returned Gray to the Davis County Jail, where he now faces additional charges. Nkoyo Iyamba, KSL News.
Welcome back. If your teenager can't hear you as well as you heard your parents, there may be a reason for that.
Yeah, it could be selective.
Could be.
That's a possibility, but their headphones are always on. And as Nkoyo Iyamba reports, they're doing damage.
Teens love that close connection.
And I love listening to music.
With their earbuds.
All the time, kind of loud sometimes to drain everything out.
It's a way of life for the average teen.
Like at least every day.
For how long?
For maybe a few hours, like when I go to the gym.
Doctors with the National Institutes of Health say hearing loss among today's teens is 30% greater than in the 80s and 90s.
I believe it because I feel like my hearing isn't as good.
Because they say the inner ear repeatedly gets pounded with sounds over 85 decibels.
You'd be surprised at how soft 85 decibels is.
When you're here at the doctor's office getting your hearing tested, 85 decibels is going to sound differently in here than on your iPhone and also in an environment like this.
If you were to go to most rock concerts these days and measure the decibel level that's present, they're pushing easily over 100 decibels and sometimes even up to 120 decibels.
But it's the daily pounding of sound for prolonged periods of time, which Dr. Page says has a profound impact on the nerves in the ears.
And how they respond to sound is based on the amount of sound, the loudness of that sound.
Which is why he recommends using this acronym, LTD, loudness, time.
If we can reduce the loudness slightly, if we can decrease the time that we're exposed to that sound.
And increase the distance between your ears and the sound source.
If we can increase that distance, we actually increase the likelihood that we're going to protect our hearing.
As for Chad, he's going to start right here.
Maybe turn it down a little less.
Nkoyo Iyamba, KSL News.
Nkoyo Iyamba reports on the challenging cleanup ahead.
Right here, I think this storm took everybody by surprise.
You can't beat free street parking, says Chance Murray.
The other options are pricey, so it's just days like this don't happen too often.
Even if it means spending 30 minutes to dig out of the snow.
I came out to shovel my wife's car out and found about 12 to 16 inches of snow on top.
The parked cars are always a nuisance.
Ryan Jolly has been plowing snow from the streets since 1 this morning.
It's not only just the parked cars, but it's traffic, people coming and going. Sometimes people park right across from each other on a road, so you'll be plowing and all of a sudden you'll come to a dead end because of cars.
City and county websites across the state list expectations for residents after snowstorms, such as off-street parking and shoveling sidewalks. Here's an example of what to do in Salt Lake City. You see that sidewalk? It is salted and shoveled. Now here's a perfect example of what not to do in Salt Lake City. You see that sidewalk full of snow. Homeowners who fail to shovel their sidewalks could get a fine of up to $200. And to make things worse for Jolly, Monday's storm kept garbage pickup on hold in some neighborhoods.
Garbage cans are basically like a parked car.
As for Jolly, he says following snow removal rules after a storm will help him clear a path for you.
Just to punch a hole in the road to get cars through.
KSL News.
Taking care of Utah's aging population, the focus of tonight's Primetime 5 Insight Report.
And Koyo Iyamba talks with those providing care on how we can better care for our elderly family members.
Hi, Mom, I'm here.
Knowing her mother is in good hands is a weight off Carla Peck's shoulders.
She had shingles. She was awful to see her face like that and the sickness, the illness.
As long as her mother's surrogate family is here to help.
But I knew that these ladies at Homestead they called me, they were there, they took her to the hospital.
Hi, Peggy. She and her husband Randy flew in from California, one of a few trips a year, to be by her mother's side.
These ladies take her out to the store, for walks, to her church, to dinner. They're with her all day long. They take her to doctor's appointments. You awake?
At roughly $8,000 a month, that level of care for 77-year-old Peggy Gottschalk is a luxury most people can't afford.
We're paying this out of our own pocket. It's costing a lot of money, and it's potentially going to get more expensive.
We really are on the precipice of a potentially large, expensive crisis if we don't start dealing with it.
Peter Hebertson with Salt Lake County Aging Services says Utah is among the top 4 states in the country with a rapidly growing population of residents age 80 and older who need care. But low wages are scaring off potential caregivers.
$9 to $11 an hour to start, and that's for somebody who's a certified nurse's aide. People in that income range can say, well, do I do that, or do I go work at a store that's going to be much less demanding? I mean, you're doing personal care. People can be difficult to care for.
And experts say with lower wages means fewer skilled workers and also the risk that our elderly residents will be abused.
It takes lots of patience.
This caregiver knows.
It's not just a job. You can train people. You can give them the skills, but you cannot give them the heart.
And she says it's more expensive to pay for elderly residents to live in a care facility versus at home.
It can be anywhere between $50 a day to $300-400 a day.
Davis also says people can save money caring for elderly loved ones by learning about preventative measures before a crisis hits.
When seniors go to the emergency, most of the time it is because dehydration, nutrition, and medication.
At this point, caregivers are telling Utahns to encourage their lawmakers to provide more funding for resources to care for Utah's rapidly aging residents. Nkoyo Iyamba, KSL News.